Now, speaking of what the human body and mind is capable of taking, we have a new study here that says letting toddlers play with phones and tablets can lead to long-term brain disruptions. Looking at phones, tablets, or televisions rewires the brains of children under the age of 2. New research warns scientists in Singapore say screen time harms development of high-order cognitive skills such as decision-making, thinking, and creativity. The findings are based on scans of 437 infants from Singapore who are 18 months old. They used an EEG test measuring neural activity through small round discs with wires attached to the children's scalps. Corresponding author Dr. Evelyn Law from the National University of Singapore says one theory is that staring at screens damages relationships with parents, which is vital for brain development. Further efforts are urgently needed to distinguish the direct association of infant screen time compared with family factors that predispose early screen use on executive function impairments. So, I mean, I read through this. It's obviously a study. It's 430 users. The children involved are before 12 months of age, sort of a year old, just people handing over the tablet. And the correlation here, or the thinking or the theory, is that it's something to do with the lack of depth associated with the screen and how the ability to comprehend that something is not physically there, that there's so much to learn as far as object recognition and general awareness, and there's so much brain development going on during this period of time. There's a huge opportunity cost to being glued to a display while so much development is going on.
Yeah.
Impairments with cognitive processes critical for health, academic achievement, and future work success. And they're also saying you're not going to know the consequences until far later. And a lot of these experiments, listen, man, this stuff is pretty new when you think about it. That these devices are so ubiquitous that we can just grab anyone and just that they're cheap enough that you would even give one to a toddler. How recent is that? And you're seeing it. I'm seeing it. I mean, all you got to do is be out in public. All you got to do is go to a restaurant and look around for young people glued to displays. And, parents in many cases are obviously, they can be busy or struggle. Like, you can understand the appeal of these types of devices, but there's just so much brain development going on there, Will. There is for me, I read a study like this and I kind of am not all that surprised. There's so much learning to do. So much life to be lived, so many facial expressions. I think about this. I'm like, by the time a child is 1 year old, how many smiles should they have received? How many times should they have laughed? How many finger paints should they have experimented with? How many times should they have squashed some Play-Doh? How many times should they have picked up a crumb? Like, it is such a wide breadth. And I know human beings are robust and resilient. But for me, there's still enough of a lack of understanding in this space that you want to be careful with it. Yeah. And, of course, this goes on into older ages as well. And it even goes on for us as adults, Will, as we try to notice how these inputs alter our emotions, alter the way we feel in general. But at least we're cognizant enough to possibly recognize it for the child below 12 months old. Ooh, how are they supposed to make sense of it, Will? That's a tougher gig right there. So we just got to be careful. We got to pay attention to it. And I'm just going to go out and say I'm not surprised, Will.
Yeah. What did we have back in the day? We had television. And that's different, right?
Well, television is definitely different. It's, when I think of television, I think, because people also, I'm just going to lump some other thing in here. When you talk about the effect of displays on your eyes, especially in the evening, and you talk about how compelling something is that's close to your face, like a tablet or a phone. A lot of it seems something to do with field of view. Like, the level of hypnosis has something to do with field of view. And in most cases, the light emitted and the location of the TV in some sort of more social space is not as compelling as, first of all, hands-on with a display like a few inches from your face and something you can interact with and touch and attempt to learn. two different ball games over there. Now, that said, probably a report like this existed when TV came out. And it probably hasn't changed all that much. And guess what it probably says on it? Something similar for those under 12 months staring at the TV for too long. That there's going to be possibility of a cognitive deficit at some point because of the amount of development at that point in time and just the value of those moments, Will. Those are key moments. So whatever, you can go look at the study yourself, see what you think about it. But if you got the youngsters around, or you're going to have the youngsters around sometime soon, you're going to want to think about how they're interacting with technology, how that might be affecting them.